There will be, in the next generation or so, a pharmacological method of making people love their servitude and producing dictatorships without tears, so to speak, producing a kind of painless concentration camp for entire societies so that people will in fact have their liberties taken away from them, but will rather enjoy it because they will be distracted from any desire to rebel by propaganda, brainwashing, or brainwashing enhanced by pharmacological methods. And this seems to be the final revolution. The fourth industrial revolution. Technological revolution that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres.
We have digital cash, which is linked to your account. That means we can create the digital history of you, your digital passport, together with your digital wallet, together with your digital health history, educational history, etc., etc., etc. So we are creating the digital history for the whole person, and probably it would be stored at the central bank layer.
Your digital identity connected to facial recognition, fingerprints, your biometrics.
For those that know me, I've been in the financial markets for a very long time. You know, this enterprise software firm is kind of new for me, and I'm really excited to be in this space. But I've been through a lot of different crises over the years, and I'm very familiar with fiscal and monetary policy tools. And when it comes to a direct stimulus program, as in give people money, it doesn't do any good to give them money if your goal is to actually have them spend it. So it doesn't take much to take the leap from, okay, I'm going to give you cash, Catherine, to I'm going to give you programmable money. And by the way, this on the programmable money, even for like welfare and all, it's been something that I've thought about for many years, and I'm not unique. A lot of people have the ability to give a type of money that can only be spent for a specific number of reasons. And some worry about that state control or whatever, but like in this.
Imagine a world where physical policy is baked into the currency.
Solve, and there are three questions that people have posed. The first one is the underground economy or illegal use of paper currency. The second is the ability to pay negative interest rates. And the third is the need for financial access. Could you restrict illegal activity by issuing digital currency? Could you allow for the payment of negative interest rates by issuing digital currency? And could you improve financial access of the underserved by issuing digital currency? The answer is that you might be able to do all three of those.
You will also be able to collect tax data in real time.
Particular narrow use case, you want to give checks to individuals to get the economy moving again.
Yeah.
So if you think of programmable money that expires if you don't spend it, because if you just stick it in your checking account or in savings account, it's not really doing anything for the economy at all. That's an extremely good use case. It's not just about the programmable nature. And like I said, you can think about how you can use it, for welfare or to direct other benefits so that spending can be just for school or school books or food and not alcohol, so it's easy to kind of run with that.
We are entering a new phase where the government can manipulate any market they want, simply by putting conditions on the money. We are moving in the direction of universal base income. When that happens, there will be conditions on the money.
Technology convergence is happening for a whole host of reasons. One is the technologies themselves are maturing. Artificial intelligence has been around for decades. What's changed in the last few years is that there's new approaches that we can apply in artificial intelligence, things like deep learning, which has allowed us to make a step change in how that technology can be applied. There's also been the explosion of data and information over the past few years, but it's that data that is the fuel for a lot of these technologies and how they can be implemented.
Countless transactions on the ledger will be analyzed by artificial intelligence.
Cryptocurrencies are now maintaining their popularity, particularly as central banks are issuing the market with money and effectively devaluing their currencies in the longer run. So this is all happening in the background. But I would say, coming back to a lot of what's been happening already, using artificial intelligence and machine learning, I think banks were already implementing quite a lot of this. So on the reg tech side, they're using these technologies by automating a lot of the kind of macroprudential analysis and the data quality assurance.
Imagine artificial intelligence forecasting unemployment, sales, GDP, tourism, business cycles, and then baking conditions into the money. It can manipulate the markets as it studies raw data in real time by altering the currency.
At the same time, this is also being used by supervisors, and it's across the different regions. So a number of them are using natural language processing tools to help them kind of detect and measure, anticipate market volatility, liquidity risks, financial stress, house prices, unemployment, and so on and so forth. Even things like looking at Twitter posts and seeing what's coming up about a particular bank, which can indicate whether that trust in that bank is at risk or so on. Or
wait a minute, did he just give us the reason why there's FUD that circulates the XRP community? AI watching Twitter?
In this region, for example, the Monetary Authority of Singapore is looking at AI and machine learning to analyze suspicious transactions and identify those that need further attention.
Imagine artificial intelligence watching the ledger 24/7, 365. Imagine artificial intelligence flagging suspicious activities and then putting labels on people. This is the Ripple board member, Susan Athey, speaking about artificial intelligence.
Using surveillance kind of in a negative way, but actually it can be very, very beneficial, but it's also going to be something we have to think hard about. So just as an application, marketplaces like Uber or Lyft or dog walking services like the ones I work with, they all need to provide incentives for their workers to provide high quality service. These are really independent service providers or independent entrepreneurs, and you really need to try to motivate them to do a good job. Now, in the past, we used occupational licensing and things like that, barriers to entry, but now we can gather data and see how they work. So here's a little study. This was done by a company that uses your phones to monitor the quality of your driving. So you might not know this, but your phone can tell if you speed, if you handle the phone, if you have a hard brake, a hard acceleration, all that's right there in your phone. And you can get that to a very high degree of accuracy. So in the study, they put 1,000 phones in Ubers and 1,000 phones in taxis and found that using the telemetry from the phones, that the Ubers were substantially safer than the taxis. I thought this was very interesting, and so I went out and did a much larger study using data from Uber. And in Chicago, Uber dispatches both taxis and UberXs. And so using a variety of techniques, I was able to match up the rides to be same starting point, same ending point, same time of day, and use the telemetry to see how the rides were better or worse. And so what we found was that across almost all the metrics, the UberXs were driving more safely. They did a bit more in terms of handling the phone for not surprising reasons, but they generally were providing an experience that then, when also matched up against star ratings and other metrics, was an experience that was better for the riders. Then we tried to understand why. So there was a large-scale experiment where the drivers were nudged to better performance. They were given information about how well they were doing that was not tied to their pay or their ability to stay on the app. And it turned out that if you got little exclamation marks that told you were below average in terms of hard brakes or accelerations or things like that, the bad drivers improved their performance.
Operant conditioning is a method of learning that occurs through rewards and punishments for behavior. Through operant conditioning, the individual makes an association between a particular behavior and a consequence. Cambridge Analytica collected data and cross-referenced that data with Facebook. They were able to customize ads that appealed to personality types. Cambridge exploited people through the data that they have collected and believe that they have helped President Trump win the election by targeting personality types and showing news that would have an impact to those personality types. There is a never-ending list of transactions that machine learning will organize and AI will interpret. So when people say that data is the new oil, what they are talking about is artificial intelligence studying that data. This is the Bank of England's proof of concept that Ripple was a part of. When the world starts using crypto assets, the world will be able to use artificial intelligence with crypto assets. Artificial intelligence can study the transactions that take place on a blockchain. Blockchains are trusts. Artificial intelligence studying trusted data is a powerful combination.
A complex story, unsurprisingly. So, I mean, we can really look at what we're making as a I guess, a network of networks in a way. But of course, human life is that, right? Like the brain is a network embedded in the larger network of the body, embedded in the larger network of society, embedded in the larger network of the ecosystem, right? So AI has multiple levels like that also. So I have the OpenCog system, whose knowledge representation is a network, a weighted labeled hypergraph, and there's multiple AI algorithms acting on this common knowledge graph, such as some neural nets for pattern recognition, a logic engine to deal with abstract knowledge and reasoning, evolutionary learning, which evolves and creates new things, and these all act together on this common knowledge graph, which then has a goal system associated with it, and can try to choose actions that it thinks will help achieve its goals, given the current context, where the understanding of the context and the actions is given by all the knowledge in this graph, right? So that's OpenCog, which in itself is very complicated, and we worked on for a long time, and which I think is quite good at generalization and abstraction. We're still working on optimizing it, but I think the core is there. The Singularity Net is a platform in which multiple AIs, maybe based on quite different principles, can be networked together so they can all talk to each other, they can all communicate, share data with each other, outsource processing to each other. So these AIs can provide services to outside users. They can be used in the back end of various software products and websites, but the AIs can also outsource services to each other in complex patterns. And so that's another level of network, right? So I think you need some AIs in there that have a fundamental power of generalization and abstraction, like OpenCog does, but this can then work together with simpler types of AI, and they can coordinate together into a network whose intelligence, in a way, is greater than the sum of the parts. I mean, so you can look at that sort of like how, different organs in the body are networked together, and they each have their own intelligence, but the whole obviously has more coordinated behavior than the sum of the parts.
Like then, different cities on the economical grid.
As well. Yeah. Then we're also working on something called the DIA, the Decentralized AI Alliance, and that's an alliance of different decentralized AI projects. So Singularity Net is ours, which networks together OpenCog with a bunch of other AIs, but then there are other projects like Ocean Protocol, which is a blockchain-based decentralized data network. There's Shivam, which is a decentralized network for genomics-based AI. There's Deep Brain Chain, which uses blockchain for fast training of deep neural networks across many machines. So we want to network together these different decentralized AI networks into a sort of network of networks. So that's why we have a network of networks of networks, and all these levels. It's complicated, but that's what we see in nature.
Yeah.
And I think in different ways, that's what we see on the internet already.
We're going to see technologies converge. The Internet of Things, biometrics, CBDC, blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, 5G. Artificial intelligence is a powerful technology that as of now, the top tech companies only have access to it. The more AI progresses, the more of a need to decentralize it. The perfect dictatorship would have the appearance of a democracy, but would basically be a prison without walls, in which the prisoner would not even dream of escaping. It would essentially be a system of slavery where, through consumption and entertainment, the slaves would love their servitude.